It's actually a nanny of the Pierce family.
What?
Yes.
Wait, they're related?
She's a nanny.
But his name's Coldwell, too.
Her name
The psychic's name.
is Bill.
Coldwell.
I never... Did I record that? I might have recorded that wrong.
3, 2, 1. Hey! Do you want to introduce yourself?
Good evening, I'm Oprah. I'm Pilar. Alicia's little sister.
Okay.
I am a spooky connoisseur.
So today we're going to be doing drunk history. We sound like the Da Vinci twins.
So we're going to be doing
Drunk history, but today we're going to be doing an iteration of a little show called Drunk History, but we're both going to be drunk.
They're going to be spooky stories focused on history around New England.
Yeah, because if you didn't know, we're New England girlies.
We are, yes.
We're
actually in New England.
We're actually in New England. The home we grew up in was built in the 1680s, so we know a thing or two about spooky New England.
And actually both seen ghosts in our house.
Yeah.
Even though everyone else thinks that we're crazy.
But we've seen ghosts.
We're
gonna go get drunk. Pretty much we're gonna go and get drunk. And we'll see how much of the story actually gets told.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't take our word for,
accuracy.
historical
We're gonna
accuracy.
throw that out the window.
Yeah.
I actually don't even have a story to tell you yet, so we're gonna use our imaginations.
We're gonna be making apple cider Aperol spritz.
Yes, autumnal themed Aperol spritz.
Aperfall spritz.
And shots. So
We're gonna
go drink.
Hey. You look so cute. Little pumpkin. Hi. An Aperol spritz. Here's the deluxe. Here's the deluxe glass, the souvenir glass. That's gonna be for the star of the show.
For me?
Me.
All the fun times we've had.
Shoe up, shoe up.
Let's bring it back. Shoe up, shoe up.
Oh, it's the remix. I don't know why.
Ain't no love, my man.
No loving my man. Shoe up, ooh.
Tell me when, man. Does Aperol have alcohol in it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, yes. Can I use that as a straw, do you think?
Yeah. Ooh, that smells good.
Oh, yes.
Should we show the finished produce?
Yeah. Okay, Aperol cam. Cheers. Mmm.
Wait, that's so good.
It's so good.
Think about it. No, I don't think about it. I don't think. Me too. You have to lead.
What do you mean?
Lead instead of chase. Or lead and chase. That's what I do.
Like
Roll
sip.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I try not to. Don't do that. Do you want to know a fun fact? I'm stalling. You think I'm stalling?
So, you think I'm stalling?
I haven't thrown up since I was 7. I've never thrown up from alcohol, ever.
What?
No, when I say I haven't thrown up, I have not physically thrown up since I was
That's
7.
insane.
I just choose not to.
Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Down the hall. Ooh, straight swag. Honestly, it wasn't that bad. It's kind of like spicy tequila.
I'm good now.
Yeah. I'm good.
1 hour later.
I did not let go. Symphony. Symphony. I just grab your little foot. Look at how little
this is.
Bruh.
We had two Upper Falls Fritz and two shots of tequila. Do you have a story for me?
I have a story for you.
Okay.
This is
This is your conch.
okay. I'm gonna hold it like this.
Goddess with your life. Goddess with your life.
As previously stated, we're going to be telling a spooky story about New England history, and I am going to tell the story of the S.K. Pierce Mansion.
You have a good podcast voice.
Oh my god, thank you. Okay, this story was actually featured on Ghost Hunters, and so it's a little bit well known, but I've never heard of it.
I've never heard of it.
Me neither. Duh, we just said that. So I'm a little bit excited to kind of like tell you guys about it. I am going to be looking down at my notes on my phone because I don't have this memorized. My name is Pilar, by the way. I don't think I ever introduced myself. I actually did a whole like investigation and it was inconclusive, whatever that means. In my opinion, the S.K. Pierce Mansion is haunted as
Oh, okay.
Okay, we're starting off with our guy, Sylvester K. Pierce. He's kind of like the main character of the story.
Okay.
Because the S.K. Pierce Mansion, if you will notice the acronym S.K., Sylvester K. Pierce,
Sylvester K.
would not
Pierce.
exist without
What does
him.
the K stand for?
Kinky.
Bruh.
Sylvester K. Pierce was born in Westminster, Massachusetts on
Oh.
April 11th, 1820. He's an Aries. He kind of was marked with tragedy at an early age. So his father passed away when he was 3 years old.
Okay.
One of 7 children. So his mom had a handful.
Yeah.
Right? She had a lot going on. So when he was about 11 years old, he was sent off to live with relatives because his mom just had so many children. And she was just like, I need you to, like, as soon as you're working age, go off and do your own thing. So he lived with his uncle for a while. And he moved to Gardner, Massachusetts when he was 15 years old.
Do you know what Gardner is?
What? Gardner? I don't even know her.
It's the furniture capital. Do you know that?
The chair city capital of
Yeah.
the world. This is what I'm getting into.
Oh my god,
So
really?
it's amazing that you already know this. The furniture capital. Okay, yep. He moved to Gardner to work for a furniture manufacturer. He like learned all about the furniture making business, all about like kind of how that was going. And historically, Western Mass, especially Gardner,
Yeah.
as you literally just said, it's the largest furniture manufacturer industry in Massachusetts.
Wow.
So there was like a ton of companies in the area that mostly focused on furniture manufacturing. So it was a big boom for like young male workers who wanted to kind of start their career.
Okay.
They had a lot of opportunity to do that. So in the mid 19th century, it was known as Chair City.
Chair City.
She's got it. She's clocked this.
Chair
Okay.
City.
So yeah, so it's
Chair
one of
City.
Shell City. So it's one of Massachusetts' main sources of lumber, and it created several jobs, as I said, for the people in the lumber yards and manufacturing. Our boy Sylvester kind of like bumped around the industry for a while. He worked for a couple people, being shown the ropes.
Being shown the ropes.
He's understanding kind of how the industry works, and so he's kind of like figuring it out for himself. And so he worked with a man named Stephen Taylor in South Gardner for like several years. So he ended up actually buying Stephen Taylor's company. And he and his brother bought it together, and they opened, it's called like SK and Pierce or Son, SK Pierce and Son, or SK Furniture and Son, something like that.
Okay.
So he bought that and he opened that, and that actually ended up being one of the most profitable furniture manufacturers in Gardner, Massachusetts, and in all of Massachusetts during the time.
Okay. Which was a big deal because it is.
The furniture capital.
It's actually known as Chair City.
It's Chair City.
He bought the company with his brother. They're killing it. They're making chairs. They're making furniture. And he met Susan Jackson.
He met Susan Jackson.
And he fell in love. And he
Okay.
married
Susan
Susan
Jackson.
Jackson. So then he starts kind of like killing it a little. And he's like, you know what, Susan? You know what you deserve?
A nice house.
A nice house. So he builds a house.
He built her a house.
Gorgeous.
Hey, men.
Men don't do that anymore. And they should.
Why aren't you building houses anymore?
They should be.
Men don't build houses like they used to.
Men just lie. And that sucks.
Did you mean that to sound mean and bitter?
Oh, not at all. I adore dessert. I love men. I think men are the coolest.
So he builds her this house right across the street from his company.
Okay.
We love a man with a short commute. 1856, Susan gives birth to their first son. His name is Frank.
Frank.
Frank Pierce. They're doing good. They're doing great. The company's booming. 1875,
Good for
SK
them.
Pearson's son is doing really well. So he's like, you know what? We have a house, but I want to build a house for me and my wife.
Like a house.
He's doing really well. He builds this beautiful Victorian style 3-story mansion. It has 26 rooms. I could be lying. He has gas lighting in every room.
For the time?
For the time.
Yeah.
Really good. He has running water. He has
Wow.
a furnace to heat the house, which is just like such a luxury.
He was keeping up with the advancements at the time.
He's doing very well for himself.
Yeah.
He said Industrial Revolution. I'll take 4.
Some people actually believe that this was built on the site of his original home. Pardon. Some
Extended
people
it.
think he moved the house down the street. If you go into the basement, allegedly, the foundation of the original house can be like seen in the ground. So people think it was built on their original house. My foot is asleep. This is where shit starts to go south.
Drink every time she says it's about to get crazy hint. She says it a lot.
A couple weeks after they move in, Susan contracts what was called erysipelas. I think that's how you say it, erysipelas. And that's a bacterial infection of the skin. So she passed away.
Oh, damn.
His love of his life
Susan.
a month after they moved into the home.
Okay, so he's devastated.
Devastated in what would be called the Red Room.
Ooh, it's giving Hill House.
It's giving Hill House.
It's giving Hill House.
2 years later,
How many kids did they have at this point?
they have one child.
Just
Frank.
one?
Just one boy, Frank.
That's like not very many kids.
No, and so he's like, I'm gonna build this
For
dream
the era.
house. I'm gonna build this dream house. I'm not
We're gonna
at
fill
all.
it with
We're gonna
kids,
fill it
yeah.
with kids. Killed. I have this lovely family. I want to boom my family. I want to make more children, whatever. And his love of his life dies.
That's very sad.
So sad.
Yeah.
2 years later, he marries Ellen West, who is 30 years younger than him.
How old is he?
Older than 30. So he's a little bit older at this point, and he marries this girl,
Ellen?
Ellen West. Gross. And they have 2 children, Stuart and Edward. So Sylvester and Ellen are kind of known for having these like ragers. Like they party. So some of the people that are known to be at these parties are Norman Rockwell. Goddamn. Betty David. She's got Betty Davis. She's got Betty Davis eyes. P.T. Barnum.
Oh, what?
Was he the guy that allegedly disappeared? Or is that someone else? Who's the guy that like was in the Amazon?
I'm lost.
I'm actually like might have made that part up. Wasn't that a guy? Remember like the money in the suitcase? Is P.T. Barnum not the guy that was like they thought was like the
No. P.T. You've seen The Greatest Showman.
This is the greatest show.
That's P.T. Barnum.
Oh, who
Yeah.
did I think?
I don't know.
I realized while editing she was thinking of D.B. Cooper Mao.
So Betty Davis.
Betty Davis.
And
Okay, so this has to be like, at this point, it's probably like the 1930s, no?
it's gotta be well into the 1900s. Maybe. No.
I'm guessing the 1930s.
Unless I'm
Because that's when
lying.
Betty Davis started getting famous.
And President Coolidge. So he died before 1900. So this can't be. They're known for these lavish parties. They're absolutely slaying. They're doing so well. They're really wealthy. 1888, Sylvester passes away from natural causes. They hold the funeral in his home, which to me is weird.
Yeah.
Wife, Ellen or whatever, and Frank Pierce, so the child from the first marriage,
Okay.
beef.
They don't
so
like each
hard.
other.
They're like, I should inherit the estate. No, I should inherit the estate. And so Ellen ends up taking all the property and the furniture factory from the child, from the firstborn child.
Oh, yikes.
And back in the day, this was the thing. And so she says, nope, it's mine. 1902, Ellen kicks the bucket.
Okay.
Guess where she died?
In the Red Room.
In the Red Room.
Oh, I got chills. How'd she die?
Doesn't say. The estate divides between the 3 boys. Frank and Edward basically take over the property. Edward moves in. Edward's daughter, Rachel,
Okay. Edward.
dies in the home
Okay.
after moving in
the fucking Red Room.
of a bacterial infection similar to the first wife. It doesn't say where she died, but she definitely passed away on
In
the
the house,
property.
on the property.
And she was somewhere between the ages of 2 and 5 years old.
Oh, okay.
So as soon as Edward starts his family and moves his family in, somebody dies. And this is going to begin a string of tragedies that occur
There's more?
in the S.K. Pierce mansion. After World War I, a financial collapse hits the family extremely hard. Edward, who's the main homeowner at this point, and his wife lose almost everything. In the 20th century, it's briefly speculated that the house was turned into a brothel. Some believe that a young sex worker was actually murdered in the home and stuffed in one of the closets. Oh, God. Extremely tragic. The house remained as a brothel. As a bread and breakfast until the 1950s, which...
The 1950s?
So for a long time.
Okay.
Which many people believe it became a boarding house in the late 1950s. Here's where we get into some of the spirits of the S.K. Pierce Mansion.
Please enjoy this very brief intermission as we were having technical difficulties.
What's your favorite sound?
My favorite sound? I think, I love Rain on a Tin Roof. I love Rain on a Tin Roof. I love...
Rain falls... Because Alicia's a technical genius.
No, I'm a technical idiot.
I actually had to... It's unfortunate.
We do have wine.
Unfortunately, after that, we both took shots of wine.
1963, a 49-year-old man by the name of Eno Sari comes to stay at the S.K. Pierce boarding house.
Oh, it's co-ed boarding house, or just men?
Co-ed,
Okay.
but some people believe at this point it's still maybe operating as a brothel.
I see.
But it was co-ed. Eno Sari is chilling, smoking, drinking. He's snug as a bug in a rug, tucked into his little room on the third floor, I think, on the second floor. His bed catches on fire and he dies. His official cause of death is ruled as smoke inhalation. Okay. It was speculated largely at the time that he died of spontaneous
human combustion, which is pseudoscientific, by the way. I'm kind of a dissenter of spontaneous human combustion. I hate to be a hater.
Okay.
I don't believe in it. But I do think it's interesting, and I do think there are unexplained deaths, but I do think maybe they could be explained if we had more details. But who knows, really?
Who knows? Some people say that when they enter the room of Eno Sari, they can suddenly smell something burning in his room.
Like flesh.
I wasn't going to say that. Post-World War I, not doing good. Like we said, brothel, boarding house. Edward ends up putting the mansion up for a wager in a poker game.
No.
Screw you. Right? Ugh. So he basically gambles away the deed.
Do we have a photo of the mansion?
We do. It's absolutely beautiful. We should insert it.
Yeah.
Here. So beautiful. Stunning. So there's all this fire damage and all this stuff going on. They're like, we can't afford this. So they gambled away. People say, oh, he gambled it away, but most people believe that he transferred ownership to a friend because the friend was willing to kind of pay for the mortgage of the house and the reparations and let him still live in it. Edward continues to live in the house and everything looks kind of good, and then he eventually passes away. Edward is the last known owner in the Pierce family. So after he passes away,
The last known what?
The last known member of the family, the Pierce family.
I didn't know what you said.
So the Pierce family mansion sits empty until the 90s.
Wow.
And they're like, we're going to demolish this bitch.
Really?
We're gonna.
Because they're like, it's just cursed.
They're like, it's just sitting here.
Oh.
And we don't
It's a
know what to
beautiful
do.
Victorian now. It's historic.
You would think.
I love a Victorian.
Small gestures mean a lot to me. Buying me a Victorian mansion.
It's the least you could do. In 2000, Suzanne and Mark Vaux end up buying the mansion. And they are like, something a little weird is going on here. But I think I like it. We're going to save it.
Yeah.
From demolition. And they're like, hold up. This is a lot to restore. We don't have the money. They keep it for a couple years. In 2003, Mark Vaux meets a psychic medium. His name is Bill Caldwell.
Okay.
And he wants to tour the mansion. And he's like, I want to take a look around and just kind of see what I can find. He goes up to the third floor and he's like, I met a teenager ghost here. And she loves it here. She wants to stay forever. And this will later be found as Maddie Caldwell, who is actually a nanny of the Pierce family.
What?
Yes.
Wait, they're related?
She's a nanny.
But his name's Caldwell, too.
Her name
The psychic's name
is Bill. Coldwell. I never. Did I record that? I might have recorded that wrong. He also found a spirit of a young woman on one of the lower floors who worked in the home, and she was in love with a man who lived in the house. And this is largely speculated as Sylvester himself. Due to class differences, she told Bill that she could never be with him. So this is our yearning final boss. And he was like, Sylvester, and she was like,
She was yearning.
low key. Bill also said he came across a older gentleman who passed away in a fire. A younger spirit who was a little boy who actually did not pass away in the home, but who came through and was like, I kind of like it here. I think I'm going to stay.
Me.
Which is crazy. So back to Maddie Cornwell. So she was the young nanny who lived on the 3rd floor, and she loved the home so dearly, and she was from Nova Scotia. She is actually speculated to have protected the home from the fire that Inosari died in, because his entire room was encased in the fire and none of the surrounding rooms were.
How did she protect them?
Big
She's
pussy. People were like, it was weird the way that it spread.
That is like kind of a characteristic of SHC.
Spontaneous.
SHC.
That it's contained?
It's contained. It was the person ignited and not the home, because like, why is it just their bed that caught fire? And why is there a person scorched into the bed? That's not funny. Sorry.
The whole point of the story is actually that spontaneous human combustion is real.
Okay.
I felt Maddie Cornwell's presence, and they always feel safe around her. They feel like she's a protector of the home. Aww. Which is really cute. So the Vo family ends up putting the house up for sale in 2007.
Okay.
Nobody wants it. They're like, y'all are fucking weird. SHC. So it sits for a little bit. Edwin, this is where stuff starts to get weird.
It starts to get
weird. If you think it's not weird, it starts to get weird.
Let's go.
Edwin Gonzalez enters the scene with his girlfriend Lillian. She's a slut for Victorian mansions.
Same.
She's me.
I'm her. She is me.
You're beautiful. In 2008, Gonzalez and Lillian, his name's Edwin.
Gonzalez and Lillian.
Lillian.
I feel I can communicate with you with simply a look. Lillian.
In 2008 for under $200,000. It's a Victorian mansion. Under $200,000. In 2008, we all know, was the housing crisis.
Literally, the last video I recorded, I was like, this is the part where we bring up the 2008 housing crisis.
Edwin is touring the house, and he's like, I don't feel so good.
Lillian's like, I freaking love it here. And he's like, I want to make Shawty happy. She's a creepy bitch. She is a spooky bitch. Love her. It's like you and me. Yeah. So she's like, I love it so much. She's like, grow up. She's like, can you nut up? Edwin Gonzalez and appreciate the Victorian house. So $200,000, babe.
A few weeks after they close on the house, they move into the home. And Edwin and Lillian are chilling at home. And a neighbor comes up. He goes, I didn't know you had children. Edwin goes, pal, we don't.
Oh,
He goes, what do you mean we don't have kids? What do you mean you don't have kids? I saw that little boy on the 3rd story.
Not in the window.
In the window.
Oh,
and
God.
he goes, he actually jumped from that window to that window. And Edwin goes, which window? He shows him the windows again. He goes, that's weird, because to get from that window to that window, you would have to go through 2 walls and a flight of stairs. This shit is crazy. Don't look at my socks. Edwin is like, I knew I had a right to feel queasy. And Lillian, once again, is like,
Nut up, bitch. I actually really like this house.
okay. It starts to get a little weird.
Starts.
Edwin and Lillian every night are woken up. So they have these they all have the original Victorian heavy wooden doors. They're slamming in the middle of the night.
Oh.
And Edwin says, it would be hard for me to do that. Edwin one night wakes up to Lillian saying there's somebody repeatedly ringing the doorbell and banging on the door. So Edwin runs downstairs. He hears bang, 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 bang. Ring, 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 like the old-fashioned doorbell. He runs downstairs.
The way I can hear this in my head.
Right.
Like,
there's nobody at the door.
I regret to inform you that for the next 7 minutes, my sister starts gripping my mic by the preamp, so the audio got muffled. I did my best to clean it up, but it is what it is, smiley face.
Yeah, like a few things like are misplaced, like we swear we put it away here, it ends up here, whatever, like a couple things like kind of going bump in the night. But so one night, Edwin and Lillian hear like glass like smashing, like dishes breaking. So they both run into the kitchen and everything's intact. And they both were like, no, I heard like dishes breaking against the kitchen floor. Like, and everything kind of from that point on starts getting a little weird. One day Edwin is in his office and all of a sudden he sees the image of a man appear right in front of his face. The figure starts running toward him. So Edwin kind of like braces himself to be like hit by this like person. And he says like a moment later, like he's alone in the room. Ooh. The person's gone. Ooh. Everybody believes it's Inasari. Personally, the photo looks like the Green Goblin.
There's a photo?
That he drew. And it looks like the Green Goblin. There's also a little boy here who is being tortured. He was really like terribly abused in life, and I think he's also being abused in afterlife as well. Like maybe things are getting a little weird. They're like, you know what? Like we've heard from Bill Wallace, we've heard from a couple other mediums that like there's kind of some stuff going on. We know about Inasari, we know about all these people, so we're going to invite some paranormal investigators over. They invite these mediums and these paranormal investigators, and they're each kind of they're kind of put onto teams, and they're each supposed to assign to be investigating sections of the house. What was that Bill Wallace and the other leaders in the investigation stated was like no seances, no Ouija boards, no like demonic kind of stuff. The groups did not follow that. They brought a Ouija board into the basement. It's alleged that Bill walked down into the basement and saw this kind of like demonic or like evil ritual going on with the Ouija board. But some people are like, he might have been a Christian and it might have just been a Ouija board. They were going against the wishes of like, we asked you to specifically not bring Ouija boards and you brought Ouija boards into the basement. And some of the leaders of the investigation are on the second floor where Inasari either spontaneously combusted or was burned alive. One of them sits down on his bed and they start to feel this burning sensation in the stomach. Their whole abdomen is like on fire. And he says he lifted up his shirt and there's 3 scratch marks bleeding across his abdomen. Somebody is really unhappy that we're here and we're in his room. And all of a sudden, they hear,
"Squeeze every throat in this house."
What?
Everyone in the room on the second floor says they heard a spirit, a voice. None of them had said it.
"Squeeze every throat in this house."
Squeeze!
Squeeze!
Squeeze every throat in this house.
Farmers eat 7 bees every day. So Edwin and Lillian are like, Bill, okay, so after this paranormal party orgy that they throw.
An orgy?
It wasn't an orgy, I just misspoke.
My bad, it wasn't an orgy.
So they all flee, because they're like, I'm a professional ghost hunter, and nothing like this has ever happened. Bye-bye. Lillian. Especially Lillian. It starts getting worse, and she starts giving the mom in Hill House, and she starts sleepwalking. And she's not feeling so good. She's like, this is getting weird. One night, she goes into the basement, and she starts digging in the basement. And Edwin wakes up, and he's like, where's Lillian? So he goes downstairs, and he finds her in the basement. She's digging through a kiln. And she digs up a newspaper article about all these children who drowned at the S.K. Pierce mansion. The weirdest part, there's no water on the grounds, but there's newspaper articles about several children who drowned on the property. What? Lillian keeps getting worse, and they actually end up bringing in someone to perform an exorcism on the property and on Lillian. And allegedly, kind of all the paranormal activity after this ends, so there's no more like creepy things going on at night. But Bill Wallace kind of thinks this might have only driven out Maddie Caldwell, who was basically protecting the family. So Lily keeps getting worse. She keeps sleepwalking. And one night, Edwin wakes up to an empty bed, and so he goes back down to the basement. He finds Lillian digging again, and he's like, babe, we've been over this. Why are you digging in the basement? And she starts screaming at him.
"Let me dig. Get the fuck away from me. Let me dig."
I hate that.
Scary. It's giving vivarium. This is something I can do. Like, so creepy. So creepy. And Bill Wallace comes back to the house. And he's like, hey, I really feel like Lillian might be in danger, and I felt compelled to come and visit you guys and let you know that something is definitely not right here.
Yeah, fair enough.
And this is not good. So the two of them are like, you know what? You're right. And so they leave the home. They end up kind of in debt. They're like, kind of like, we can't really afford to repair the home, because remember when they had bought it at that point, it had been like not in great shape. They end up kind of like start hosting like events and tours and TV shows and like paranormal investigations and kind of like bringing people onto the property. But the second that they moved off of the property, Lillian never sleptwalked again. She completely went back to normal and everything was fine. Since it kind of became a tourist attraction, whatever, people kind of report hearing like giggling in the basement of children, and one person actually found a pelvic bone in the basement, and it was reported to probably be of an animal, but nobody really knows. And people think that they see the shadows of children playing. It's just basically a haunted attraction.
Wow.
So they basically made their money back from the home by like having paranormal
They still own it?
investigators. They still own it to this day.
Wow.
And it's considered a historical landmark at this point. But people say, yeah, if you go into Enos's room, you can kind of smell burning. They think Maddie's spirit is gone, but the basement's really creepy.
That is so wild.
Yeah. And that is the story of the S.K. Pierce Mansion.
When she's an advocate, does it hurt the horse?
I actually think we should do ASMR.
Are you getting tingly? Don't freak out. Pulled out a piece of her hair, started flossing her teeth with her hair. I was like, that's a little...
I'm sorry. Some girl flossed with the hair of a stranger and said, don't freak out. I'm going to pull your hair out of your head and floss with it.
Yeah.
I believe in like...
Ed and Lorraine, though, I have beef with.
I have beef with Ed and Lorraine,
They
too.
are frauds.
Take out your own hair.
Or just be like, you have something in your teeth. Figure out on your own terms.
She flossed her?
She flossed with her own hair.
So
she said, okay.
Don't freak out. Took a hair out of her own head. And then flossed? No. Embarrassing.
Why?
He's walking
It's
around
more
with his
embarrassing.
fly down.
It's more embarrassing to
Way
continue walking around
humiliating.
with one's fly down.
No.
Also, can we acknowledge the fact that Ed is a child predator?
He is.
Yes. And Lorraine enabled him.
I'm gonna pluck their head off their hair. I'm going to...
Their what? Off their what?
Off their hair. I'm going to pluck...
Take the gun, leave the cannoli. No, take the cannoli, leave the gun.
Leave the gun.
But it's...
Take the cannoli, but it's... Leave the head. Take the hair. The head. Does the bear want to be hugged? I'm gonna go up to a random stranger. I'm going to pluck the hair off their head. I'm going to floss them with it.
Open
You're
wide.
welcome. No, not open wide. I would say disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
Instead of,
yeah.
like, I would
Preface.
feel, unless it was you, I'd feel extremely violated.
I just wouldn't do that.
If you could return, don't let it burn, don't let it fade.
I can't sing that loud.
The way we were trying to film a spooky video. Wait, is that the way we stand? We sound fucking gas.
Really? Okay. Just have to go ahead. Pretend.
There's no way we've been lingering for 10 minutes.
Remember when I said I didn't have a story to tell?
I actually don't even have a story to tell you.
For some reason, instead I launched into a truly unhinged range of topics as my sister was nearly falling asleep.
I don't like Ernest Hemingway. I didn't organize it. I didn't even think about it. Oh my god.
So bad.
She's an Anglo-Saxon goddess. I mean, not if you apply it to like postmodernism, but like it is even more mutually intelligible than they are today. Love the elegies, The Wanderer, The Seafarer.
I feel like I read that.
Pa shaves every day now because my mother is a fish. Because it's written by Christian monks. Like, you kidnapped her.
Yeah.
Beowulf.
Damn.
By
Christian.
Christian monks. Matilda, because of their editing and their censorship,
So sad.
it's devastating. She was the first queen. She was a queen consort. She wasn't a queen in her own right. The War of the Roses. Like,